Okay, guys, I'm going to explain quiz 1.1 and the problem for it. So the first one, right, for each scenario, decide whether or not it is a function, state yes or no, write the definition, explain your reasoning, right? So the first one, so the definition, each input has exactly one output, which means it passes the vertical line test, right? So you see, does it pass the vertical line test? Draw vertical lines. And they all intersect only at one point for every vertical line. So that is a function, right? So yes should be for number one. And your explanation can be a vertical line intersects only one point at a time. So that means this is a function. Now you may have different explanations, but something along those lines should be sufficient. Okay, part B, you have a table of values or your XY values, and each input must have exactly one output. And the value, let's see, so let's look at it. So each input, so we have 2, -5, 6, 2 again, -8, 11, 4. Now if we look at the only repeating x's, or these two values right here, so if this was 2 goes to 5, and you have another 2, it has to also go to 5, but it doesn't, right? It goes to 12, so it goes to different values. So each input does not have exactly one output. So this is going to be a no, right? So the value when x is 2 has two different outputs, 5 and 12 for your y values. Okay, I need that too. So this is not a function. Okay, number 2. Okay, suppose K of H represents the income in dollars Kevin receives for H hours of work. Use a function notation to represent the following statement. If Kevin increases the number of hours he works by 8, then his income will double. Okay, so how do we write that? So we know it's going to be K of H, because that's what they gave us for our function, K of H. Right, so let's start with that. So K parentheses of H, and Kevin increased the number of hours by 8. So we're going to increase his hours by 8. So it's going to add 8 to our hours. Right, so our hours plus 8. So 8 plus, hours plus 8. And then his total income will double. So K of H again, right? So his income will double. So he's going to double that. So we just put 2 right there, right? Because it'll double. And that's it. So if we add 8 hours, then our total income is going to double. So you multiply it by 2. Okay, so it is crucial that we have the K and the parentheses in there because it's function notation. It represents something. So make sure you have the K of your parentheses, whatever it is. Okay, part B, using this same initial scenario, what would K of 10 equals 1.4K of 5 mean? And then fill in the blanks with appropriate numerical value. So if Kevin works, let's do a different color. So if Kevin works 10 hours, because it's 10, so if Kevin works 10 hours, he will make blank percent more than if he works, and I give you the hours right here, 5 hours. 5 hours. And then we figure out what is this 1.4, right? So 1.4, if you just multiply by 1, it'll be itself. So 1.4, you're just adding that 0.4, right? Because it's like 1 plus 0.4. So 1 plus 0.4, and the 1 represents the 100%, because times it by 1 is 100% itself. You just get back itself. But the 0.4 is your 40%. Okay? So you multiply by 1.4 because you're adding 40%, like your 100% plus your 40%, right? Because 0.4 is 40%, right? 0.40. So 40%. So you'll increase it by 40%. Okay? So it's not 1.4%, it's 1.4 times that amount, which is 140%. So you're adding 40%. Okay. Okay, also, you're gonna know in your grades, when you go up to here, you can see that there's two different standards. So you're gonna receive two different scores, and you're gonna see that on Google Classroom, because Google Classroom does not take like multiple standards at the same time where it uploads it to Jupyter automatically. So I put two numbers, so it's right out of four for each standard. So that's why it says 44. So if you got a 44, that means you got 4 on each standard. If you got a 34, you got 3 on the first standard, 4 in the second standard, and so forth. Right? If you got 24, you got 2 in the first standard, 4 in the second standard. Okay, so that's how you read your score and what you got. Okay, retakes, I'm going to explain that in class, but it's going to be next week. Okay.